All right. Well, good morning, everyone. I want to say thank you to Ashley, Nita Spile, and the whole team here at the Narrative Project for hosting this very impactful bill signing that we are having today. Our state has been so proud to lead the way on one of the most comprehensive paid leave programs in the country that's creating a working environment where everyone can succeed. For women, paid leave has been incredibly beneficial and has made our state one of the most family-friendly states in the country. And here in our state, we are no longer penalizing women for taking time away after giving birth or to take care of a loved one. So we've been a long-standing leader when it comes to supporting workers, especially female workers. Before our paid leave program in 2011, Connecticut became the first state in the country to require that certain employers provide employees with 40 hours of paid sick time per year. But since we did that in 2011, Connecticut has fallen behind. So, as we've watched other states and municipalities across the country follow our lead, adopting their own and often more inclusive and accessible sick leave policies. So now, more than 10 years after passing our sick leave policy, we needed to make some changes. Connecticut's existing paid sick law only applies to certain service workers at employers of 50 or more employees. But the law made exemptions for some industries, including a number of them in which women tend to be overrepresented. Shocking, right? So, for many women, they often take on the role of primary caretaker when it comes to taking care of children, spouses, aging parents. The original bill offered a very narrow description when it came to care for others, like the time many only used to care for a child 18 and under. And also, there were issues with respect to serious health conditions. So this caretaking burden that women take on can be very significant and often really impacts their careers and their jobs in a negative way. So, with more women needed across the workforce, it's really important that our state enact policies that are female and family friendly. And by updating these statutes, we are allowing workers to have the opportunity to care for themselves and their families without worrying they'll lose their jobs. Additionally, as we come out of the pandemic and we're coming out of a particularly bad season of colds, flus, and RSVs, and more COVID, we know that it keeps everybody healthier if sick people are allowed to stay home when they're sick. So we are so proud to be here with some amazing legislators and advocates who have worked and fought so hard to enact this really important legislation. So I want to thank all of our amazing legislator colleagues, and you're going to hear from them in a minute. But with that, it is my great pleasure to hand it off to our esteemed Senate President, Martin Looney.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Lieutenant Governor. This was one of the most important bills of the 2024 session. It's one that we were able to pass in the Senate last year, but this year, through the good work of the Speaker, the Majority Leader, Representative Sanchez, and others, we were able to get it done. Obviously, it's wonderful that Senator Kushner is here because she has been a champion of all of the progressive labor-oriented legislation that we've been able to pass since 2019 when she entered the Senate and became the chair of the Labor and Public Employees Committee. Why is this important? Why is it important to allow for paid sick days? It's important because it recognizes the humanity of workers. You think about it, if an employer does not support and doesn't grant paid sick days to employees, the message is you are only worth the hours that you spend working here. We have no further interest in you, no further interest in your well-being. We only care about the hours that you put in working here. And this is not a message, I think, that employers should want to be sending to their workers, especially many workers talk about the family atmosphere where they work. Well, that's not a family atmosphere. So now it's unfortunate that we have to mandate this, but it is great that we're able to now. We'll be moving from the 50 worker total where it currently sits to 25 in January, then to 11, and then down to 1 the year after that in 2027. It's critically important that we do that because we know that workers are dragging themselves to work, because even if you're a low-income worker, the loss of a day's pay can be really stressful. It can be the difference between being perhaps being short on your rent at the end of the month, or being short on a car payment. It's not something where people have a cushion where they can say, oh, well, I'll just go to my savings account and make up that difference. People are living on the edge of crisis all the time. And this will be one way to help push that crisis a little bit farther away from their door. And it's important, I think, to recognize, not to be partisan, but in an election year, I think it's important to be, to recognize that most Republicans were not supportive of this. And they were not supportive of this because they said, well, employers shouldn't have to worry about sacrificing some profits in order to grant some extra days off to their workers. It's the same thing with the most Republicans who spoke against the CBAC contract agreement for state workers while praising state workers and saying what a great job they did and how much their work was appreciated, but not willing to show it in the way that would count most, in a practical way, supporting their contract. Some of the same Republicans, spoke glowingly about the DOT workers after the quick repair of the bridge in Norwalk, but at the same time, they weren't willing to support that contract enhancement. It's almost as if you see somebody, slip and fall in the street ahead of you as you're walking by, and you stop and say, I wish you the best and hope you're okay, and then just keep walking. That's exactly how they behave. So I'm so pleased that this bill passed this year with the governor's enthusiastic support. It will mean a world of difference for low-income workers, those who live on the tightest of margins. I want to thank everyone here, all of my fellow legislators, for their work on that regard, especially Senator Kushner, our champion in the Senate, and again for the governor, lieutenant governor, for their support, and the administration made it clear from the beginning that they were in strong support of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. All right, and it is my great pleasure to bring up our wonderful host, Ashley Needespile. Thank you so much for having all of us today.
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you, everyone. My name is Ashley Needespile, and I serve as the Vice President of Communications for the Narrative Project. If you don't mind, I'm going to be reading most of my remarks because I am normally the girl that is behind the scenes. Today we are honored to host the Governor Ned Lamont, Lieutenant Governor Susan Bisowitz, legislative allies and champions for this bill, Senator Julie Kushner, Representative Manny Sanchez, as well as the working family partners, and especially important to us, our partners at She Leads Justice that really championed the passage of this law. So, I want to first start by welcoming you to our offices in New Haven, where we work tirelessly every day to tell just stories. And my goodness, look at this crowd and look at this turnout. It is telling me that folks are very excited and ready for the expansion of Connecticut's paid sick days. So thank you to everyone who made this possible. To tell you a little bit about our organization, the Narrative Project started in 2015 as a community conversation platform. We hosted deep conversations on race and identity and offered trainings on the same topic. Seeing the need to support organizations with this crucial work in a more integrated way, we launched as Connecticut's only anti-racist public relations agency in 2019. And in fact, this past week, we just celebrated our 5th anniversary. So we work exclusively with mission-driven organizations committed to pursuing justice in our key issue areas, which include education, environmental justice, immigration, systemic racism, to name a few. So I would like to acknowledge our founder and CEO, Mercy Quay, who you would normally be hearing from today, but she can unfortunately not be with us today because she's currently out of town, taking some much-needed time off. And I think that example and this example that you're hearing from me today really underscores the importance of today's event because at its root, it's all about time. It's all about individuals being able to take the time they need to rest, recover, and maintain their own well-being. So the Narrative Project is extremely happy to support this critical legislation. Since our inception, we have championed the idea that a healthy and happy workplace starts with allowing employees to take time off when needed. From year one, we have offered generous time off policies and even closed our door for 2 weeks a year to ensure staff health and wellness remain on a consistent basis. Our ongoing investment in staff care is why we know sick leave is a crucial component in ensuring all workers do not have to choose between their health and their livelihoods. So perhaps one of the few silver linings brought on by the pandemic is that we were shown how critical it is, how critical the need for paid sick days were. Since 2020, we've seen how vital it is for employees to have the ability to take time off when they are ill without fear of losing income. And this bill, and now law, is a much-needed step towards protecting public safety without penalty to any sick employees or their households. So at its root, we believe this bill is health justice work, and we're eager to support the state in its effort to implement sustainability measures to ensure all businesses can support their employees and continue to thrive. It goes without saying that small businesses, especially those in Black, brown, and low-income neighborhoods, often face significant financial challenges. These businesses are frequently at the heart of their communities, working tirelessly to make ends meet and compete in the marketplace. So for these businesses and their employees, sustainability will be the difference between success and failure. That's why the Narrative Project is committed to supporting the state's establishment of a task force to identify opportunities for tax credits after the implementation of this bill, and we look forward to working together with our partners and the state to create solutions that benefit Connecticut's entire workforce. Once again, thank you all for being here. Today's bill signing is a significant step forward in ensuring the health and well-being of Connecticut's workforce. And we are proud to be part of this important moment and continue our work supporting initiatives that promote justice and equity in our communities. Thank you, and I will now hand it over to the Lieutenant Governor.
Thank you so much, Edgar. I really appreciate it. Ashley, thank you so much. It's now my pleasure to introduce two of our amazing legislative champions who fought for this bill very tenaciously, and we'll start with State Senator Julie Kushner.
Thank you so much, Lieutenant Governor. It's a pleasure to see you here. Governor, we couldn't have done this without you, and from the very beginning when we started talking about this bill last year very seriously, your team came to the table and you were very easy to work with on this one. And we appreciate that so much because you really were, I think, as passionate about getting this done as we were. And of course, to Senator Looney, I have been very, very happy to be a state senator since 2019. Every year we have passed good, strong legislation for working families, and it's really been the leadership of Marty Looney that has gotten this done. He's been 100% with us on every single step of the way, and I can't tell you, you make me want to keep coming back to the Senate because of the work that we're getting done, and I appreciate it so much. We talked at the beginning here, before we even got started, about the governor being a new grandpa, but I think there's probably only one great-grandmother in the room, and I want to give acknowledgement to my mother who is with us today. And it's important to talk about your mothers, because it is really our mothers in many ways whether you're male or female, however you identify, it is really often our mothers that set us on the path that we take in life. And for me, it's been a path about making change, making things better for regular working people. And that has been my mission my whole life. And I have found being in Connecticut is a place where we can get things done. So in 2019, when we passed the Paid Family Medical Leave Bill, everybody was so excited. We were taking care of working families. And it was incredibly important legislation. But basically, there was a little loophole in there, and that is that people who were not seriously ill or who were only out for a short time didn't necessarily have coverage. And we found that to be very true during the pandemic. We launched the Paid Family Medical Leave Program during the pandemic, and what we found is that first year there were thousands and thousands of applications for people who did not qualify because they were out for a few days, because they didn't have to go to a doctor, because it wasn't serious enough for every employer to be required to provide coverage. And that really was a big motivating factor for getting this done now. We understand it's about humanity, and I think that always comes first. But it's also about making sure that people have their jobs protected. Of course, the pay is important, but people didn't even have job protection before this if they were out sick for a day or two or three. And so there's so much in this bill that is critically important. When we were on our way here, we got a little lost. We stopped at the Omni Hotel, and I said where we were going, that we're going to a press conference about paid sick days. And the two guys there said, "Oh, will that help us?" And I said, "You got a union contract. You've already got that. This is for the people that don't have anything." I was very proud at the very first press conference we had on this bill. We had a businesswoman, young woman who just started up her business in Danbury, Connecticut. Someone, I have gone there and frequented it. And what she said is that as a small business, as a startup business, things are very tough, and I cannot provide health care like I would like to, but I can provide paid sick days. And for her, this bill was very important because it's about leveling the playing field for those employers that are small, that are struggling, to make sure when they do give benefits, it's really important that they have a level playing field and other employers are required to give the same benefits. So there's so many ways in which this is going to advance our state. I know that for me personally, it was one of those things that was on our list, right? I actually was part of the coalition in 2011 when we passed the first bill. And it's been on our list since then to improve that, so that at the time only 12% of our workforce had employers that were required to provide this benefit. And in 3 years, every employer in Connecticut will be required to provide this benefit. And that's a huge change. It didn't, I love to thank the governor. I love to thank the lieutenant governor and our leadership, and certainly my co-chair, Representative Sanchez, who is just a dream to work with, and we had such a good time working on this. Not always a good time, sometimes a little stressful, but generally speaking, it was a good time. But really, the people who got this done are the people who are here in this room. It was the coalition, it was the Working Families Party, and She Leads Justice, and all of you, the domestic workers who have been at every single one of our events. All of you. We get to sit up there in Hartford and work on these laws, but it's the people who really make it happen. And so today this is a celebration. I'm so pleased that we're doing here at the Narrative Project. It's a wonderful opportunity to join with you in our celebration of passing paid sick days. It's I would like to say it's the best bill we did this year. I'm sure there's a few that would compete for that. But I think it was very important for the working people of Connecticut. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, it's my pleasure to introduce the other legislative champion, the co-chair, the chair of the Labor Committee in the House, State Representative Manny Sanchez.
Thank you all for being here. This is truly a big deal. We understood the work that was required to get this thing over the finish line, the many perspectives that needed to be considered, the many conversations for and against. But paid sick days for every Connecticut employee will now be a reality. And it's because of the many faces in this room that is true. Workers should never have to choose between their health and their job responsibilities. Thank you.
Wonderful. All right, and thank you, Representative Sanchez, for channeling Q. Williams, who I'm sure is looking down very happy with this bill signing today. And I want to acknowledge two other legislative champions, the Vice Chair of the Labor Committee in the House, State Representative Darrell Wilson, and a fierce fighter for working families, State Representative Pat Dillon. So Senator Kushner referenced some of the allies and advocates that helped us fight for this legislation. It's my pleasure to introduce Janae Woods Weber, who is the Executive Director of She Leads Justice.
Good morning. So great to see everyone here. I'm Janae Woods Weber, Executive Director of She Leads Justice.
Good morning. Sarah Ganong with Connecticut Working Families Power.
And we were so proud to lead the Paid Sick Days Coalition. This bill would not have been passed without the leadership of our wonderful legislative champions, but also the years of tireless work of the advocates. So many people in this room and beyond, hundreds of people across the state who came together and gave hundreds of hours of their time, shared their stories, gave testimony, did all of that work to make sure that every worker in the state of Connecticut will now have access to paid sick days. This is a crucial step forward for workers in Connecticut in so many ways. And as the leader of an organization that advocates for women, this is a particularly powerful step forward because we are so fortunate to live in a state that takes women's rights seriously, particularly now when women's health care is under attack. And paid sick days are an important step for ensuring that women have access to that health care, including abortion care. And it is also an important step forward if we say that we are a state that believes survivors, because this bill also includes safe days, so that people who are survivors of sexual assault, domestic violence, or intimate partner violence can also take the time that they need to care for themselves. And as was mentioned earlier, women continue to be the primary caretakers, not only for ourselves, but also for our families and our communities. And so no longer will we have to make the choice between taking time to care for our loved ones or a paycheck. Those days are over. It's a great day in Connecticut to be a worker.
One of the other things we're proudest of in this bill is the expanded and strong family definition. Many of us in this room in 2019 worked really hard to make sure that the paid family and medical leave allowed you to take care of people that you love. Here in Connecticut, we think that if you're a BIPOC family, if you're an LGBTQIA+ family, if there is somebody that you love, that you rely on, who relies on you, you should be able to take time off to care for them. And we're really pleased and proud that that is in this legislation and is a model for the rest of the country as it was in 2019.
Say who you are.
Again, Sarah Ganong with Connecticut Working Families Power. We're proud to be part of the Paid Sick Days Coalition this year. I also think it's just important to take a moment. I noticed this morning in my Facebook memories, as I like to look out this time of year, that this is actually the 5-year anniversary of a lot of us being together when the governor signed the minimum wage bill to raise the wage. So Connecticut has done a lot of fantastic work over the last 5 and 6 years to help workers, and really excited to continue that momentum moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Great. All right. It is now my pleasure to introduce a business owner, Greg Simpkins, and Greg is the owner of Avalanche Landscaping here in New Haven.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Greg Simpkins, as she just said. I'm the proud owner of Avalanche Tree and Landscaping in New Haven. As a business owner here in Connecticut, I am excited to speak about my experience and the recent past paid sick days expansion and how it will positively impact our communities. Avalanche Tree and Landscaping has created the need for residential and commercial business in New Haven, Connecticut since 2010. With a profound respect for nature and passion in design, we specialize in tree care, landscaping, and environmental stewardship to elevate aesthetics, sustainability, and tranquility. My team is currently made up of 6 full-time employees and 2 part-time employees, the majority of which are formerly incarcerated individuals. They are dedicated to ensuring professional service, meticulous attention to detail for both residential and commercial projects in the New Haven region. We are proud to support the expansion paid sick days in Connecticut. As many of you know, family is at the heart of our lives. One key benefit of this new law is the support it provides to hardworking employees who need to take the time off to care for their spouse, child, or parent. When a loved one is ill, the last thing anyone should have to worry about is how are they going to pay their bills, or are they going to be able to take care of their family member? This law ensures that more employees can take the necessary time to care for their families without financial stress. Equally important, the paid sick days law is crucial for employees who fall ill themselves. In the past, many workers had to choose between health and their paycheck, often coming to work sick because they couldn't take the time off. This not only jeopardized their health, but also the risk of spreading illnesses to their colleagues and the customers. With the paid sick days, employees can recuperate at home, ensuring healthier and more productive workspace for everyone. From a business perspective, happy and healthy employees are the backbone of a successful business. And anyone who has ever been part of a small business knows that we often rely on our small, tight-knit team. When employees know that their well-being is valued, their commitment to their job increases. They are more likely to stay long-term, reducing turnover rates, costs associated with hiring and training new staff. When employees have their time to recover from illnesses without the stress of a lost wage, they return to work healthier and more productive. We all know that. As a long local business owner, employer, and a proud Connecticut resident, I am grateful this new law will bring to our state in line with the neighboring states and make Connecticut more productive state with the small businesses and a better place to work for employees. In conclusion, the paid sick days law is a win-win for everyone. We all could agree on that. Thank you, guys.
Greg, thank you so much. It's my pleasure to introduce an employee who previously didn't have paid sick days, and she is Kimberly Okeke. I hope I said that right.
Okeke.
Okeke. Yeah. Kimberly.
Good morning. My name is Kimberly Okeke. I live in East Hartford, Connecticut, and I am a congregational and community organizer at the Collaborative Center for Justice. This is a faith-based nonprofit organization founded by 5 congregations of Catholic women religious. We are dedicated to advocating for systemic change and educating individuals about social justice issues in order to make a difference in the lives of people who are poor, marginalized, and alienated. A few months ago, during Governor Ned Lamont's press conference in March, I shared with you all about a very vulnerable and sensitive period in my life. When I was only 21 years old, I was unexpectedly diagnosed with adult interception of the colon. I had to undergo an intense emergency surgery, which turned out to be successful. However, I was not permitted to work for a significant amount of time. At the time, I was a student working various part-time jobs, but unfortunately I had no access to paid sick days. Healing from my surgery while trying to figure out finances was very traumatic and very stressful. However, I am blessed to be standing here with you all today in order to show gratitude and appreciation for the signing of HB 5005, an act concerning paid sick days. I am blessed and forever grateful because this bill will have a positive and tremendous impact on people who are actively going through or trying to heal from short-term health conditions. This bill will relieve their financial burdens and will hopefully bring them a peace of mind. Not only am I excited that this bill has a positive impact towards individuals going through a health crisis, but this bill has the potential to impact a diverse array of communities, especially historically marginalized groups of people. This bill has the potential to help financially mend Black and African American communities. This bill has the potential to impact immigrants from all over. This bill has the potential to impact low-wage workers. This bill has the potential to impact single mothers, and so on and so forth. With this being said, I would like to take the time to thank Governor Lamont for his unwavering support of HB 5005, and the leadership of Senators Julie Kushner and George Cabrera, and Representatives Manny Sanchez and Darrell Wilson. Thank you for advocating for this bill and having faith in its impact. I would also like to thank two organizations, She Leads Justice and Connecticut Working Families Power, for not only their push for advocacy, but ongoing perseverance of making sure the public is informed and educated about the issue of paid sick leave in Connecticut. and for the hard work of everyone in the Paid Sick Days Coalition. I would also like to thank the Collaborative Center for Justice for giving me the tools to develop as a leader and help manifest change in pursuit of this bill. I am exhilarated to see the process of this bill enforced as it helps to lift the financial burden of families and relieve CT workers and generals, the movers and shakers, the change makers. Thank you.
Thank you. Kimberly, thank you so much. And without further ado, our fearless leader, Ned Lamont.
Well, thanks, Susan. And yeah, as Manny said, this is truly a big deal. I think Joe Biden would have phrased that a little more colorfully, but see my friend Chris Donovan there just reminds us that this has been a long time coming. And Julie's mom, I bet she was writing the 4th grade paper on the importance of paid sick days some years back. And it took a while. And, there was some pushback. And as a lot of good ideas, there was some pushback. And they pushed back on me because, I'm the business guy. And I said, as Julie said, and as Marty knows, I believed in this from the very beginning. And we're going to get this over the finish line. We got it over the finish line, and it takes work. And they go, oh, Governor, this is going to really be bad for small business and nobody's going to grow jobs here again. Well, hold it, dude. I think you told me the same thing about the minimum wage. I think you told me the same thing about paid family and medical leave. And I want you to know that we've had more economic growth, more opportunities, more startups, small businesses with women and women of color ever before in the history of the state. And by the way, I came out of small business. We tended to do this already. I did not want people very sick coming and taking care of customers and stuff. It was the wrong thing to do. But by the way, buddy, on the phone, if you weren't doing this, that's why we needed a law for folks like you, so we'd be able to take care of people and what that means. And finally, as Susan said, I think it's really important for people as they think about the state of Connecticut, what type of a state we are. I love the fact that we are becoming known as the most family-friendly state in the country. I love the fact that we have more young families or soon-to-be young families moving into the state of Connecticut for a variety of reasons, one of which is maybe we make it a little bit easier for you to be able to take care of the family you love and the work that sustains you and taking care of the customers you need. And I think this is one more small step that we are able to make this difference. I know why Marty Looney made it priority number one, and we got it done, buddy.
Okay, so I think we will sign the bill and then do on-topic questions. So, Gov, we're going to have you sit in the hot seat right here.
Come on, she's been whispering in your ear since 1964.
All right. Yep, and we're just going to do just a couple letters at a time. Keep using, oh, there we go.
Oop, the different colored pens. That's going to keep you all guessing.
Interesting. Okay, that's interesting. Doesn't matter. Julie gets the colorful one. We'll give that one to Julie. Thank you. There we go. Okay. All right. I guess I got to keep doing this one. Okay.
This is good. This is like...
All right, we're getting the hang of this. All right. Do that one. All right.
Good ideas have many parents. We need a lot of pens.
Yes, we sure do. It's a good problem to have. All right. There you go.
Goodness
Gracious. All right. Give you those. There's one underneath. Use that pen because we still got two more. All right, two more, and then two more. Good to go. Got a lot of allies. We need that, right? Okay. Okay, two more, Gov. And then we'll give everybody a pen. All right, who gets the last one? Anybody?
Here we go.
All right. Sarah, she got one. Okay. All right. Julie, we'll give you a pen.
Hey, Mom.
Thank you.
How's it going?
It's my pleasure. Terrell.
Hey, Chris. Good to see you, buddy.
Hey, Manny. Thank you.
You've been there, right?
Hey. Thank you so much.
All right. I can see that little kid's eyes.
For you. I want to give one to Sarah.
I see it, buddy.
Did you get a bill, Sarah? Yes,
You know what? Maybe it was more.
More that we have that sign. Let me have you do it after the question.
Let's bump down.
So from age of 0 to the age of 81.
Okay. We're gonna. Okay. Very good.
All right, we'll take pictures in 1 minute. We're going to take some questions at the podium. Can everyone move that way?
What did Julie say?
They want to take questions.
Oh, questions.
All right. Before we do pictures, we're going to take any on-topic questions.
Sure, Governor. The Senate President took note of the fact it is election year. To what extent, in your view, does this bill define the differences between the two parties?
I think it does.
You're welcome.
Look, I try and do everything we can on a bipartisan basis. I think it makes us stronger. But as Marty pointed out, this one was not very bipartisan. And frankly, I think come out of small business, sometimes you listen to what a lobbyist says, and a lobbyist says this is not good for business. I tried to explain why I think that's wrong. I think it's good for the state. I think it's good for the people I see right here in this room. I think it's good for small business. And that's a case I'm going to make between now and November.
Can I add to that, though?
Please.
I do want to say something, because the same thing happened with paid.
Our TV friends might appreciate it.
Yeah, come right here, Julie.
This game.
But I think it's important to note that the same thing happened when we passed paid family medical leave. And there wasn't a single vote in either the House or the Senate by the Republican legislators. And it was a huge mistake on their part. There's someone in every town and city of Connecticut has benefited from this. And it's something that every legislator should have been on board with. And so I think there is a defining line. And, you know, it's unfortunate, and I hope that we can bring people around. And I know in my own experience, there are plenty of Republicans in my city and in my towns that support me because of the work we're doing for working families. And so I don't think it's true across the board for the population, but I unfortunately think it's too true for the elected officials.
And I'll just add to what the governor and Senator Kushner had said. The same thing happened with raising the minimum wage. Yep. And these are things that we in the Democratic Party are very proud to stand up for, because they uplift women, they uplift families, they uplift communities and our state. We are leading the way on those fronts.
Maybe Senator Looney and the governor, maybe you can answer this. We heard what you said earlier about the Republicans. I went back and I looked at a statement that came out from the Senate Republicans, and one of their criticisms is this will hurt employers and employees by eliminating their ability to negotiate employment terms themselves. It sort of presupposes that there's an equal relation between employer and employee, and I'm not quite sure you agree with that characterization.
I certainly don't. What a piece of fiction that is. It's just like saying, well, 100 years ago, people like today's current Republicans were opposing child labor laws. They said, well, this interferes with the right of the 8-year-old kid to negotiate terms and benefits with his employer. You know, this is a fiction. There is such a disparity in power between employers and employees. I'm surprised that somebody can make that argument with a straight face in 2024. In addition to what was said, what the Lieutenant Governor said again about the minimum wage, as well as this, these same arguments were used when there was an effort to pass child labor laws, when there was an effort to pass workplace safety laws and the creation of OSHA. There was always a whining and a hand-wringing about the effect on business, how terrible it'll be and all that. It was a fraud and a lie then. It's the same now, and we need to keep moving forward.
What's the ballpark best number that you can give us today on how many people don't have this benefit and going forward?
I think the research showed that, in fact, the overwhelming majority of employers in Connecticut already provide this benefit. And just to be clear, if you're providing the benefit, this law doesn't mean you have to add on. This is really geared toward the ones that don't provide it. And I think the research has been about 12% of workforce in Connecticut does not have paid sick days. And while 12% might seem like a small number, it's a lot of people. And so that's why this bill was so incredibly important.
The 12%, that was not covered, that won't be covered by the law versus people. I mean, could you clarify that?
Well, see, I think what's confusing is that there's currently 88% of the workers work for employers that are not required to provide this benefit. But in fact, about 80% of the workforce is already covered because the employers are doing it without the requirement of law. So I think that's what gets confusing, because I've been told that about 12% of workers in Connecticut do not have the benefit.
Do not have the legal benefit, but we don't.
No, I'm talking about do not get paid sick days at work. That's the distinction, and the thing that's confusing, it's about the same figures for both questions.
What are the jobs you're seeing most where they don't have the benefit?
Well, a good example is domestic workers. Mm-hmm. You see so many domestic workers here today because they've never had this benefit. And when we passed the Paid Family Medical Leave Act, we made sure that it covered every worker, including domestic workers and, personal care attendants. But we know from research, it's not just the lowest wage workers, but it's also people who work as dental hygienists, people who work often in landscaping. I know that we had a really good employer here talking about that, but these are fields that often don't pay for paid sick days, and they don't provide job protection either, which is also key in this.
I believe during the discussion, at least in the House or Senate, I thought it was mentioned that part-time workers would be the largest beneficiary of this. And I was wondering, one, if that's your understanding, and two, do we even have a number of part-time workers? Because I can't seem to find that on the Labor Department's website. I
have not seen the number of part-time workers, but you're absolutely correct that part-time workers often do not have paid sick benefits. And this benefit, the law that we passed will allow them to earn, based on the number of hours they work, a benefit. So, in fact, that is going to be a huge portion. And a lot of part-time workers work multiple jobs. And so that's why, they often don't have benefits.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. And we'll do some photos with this fabulous banner.
We're making history today. We're making
Yes,
history.
you are. Yes, you are. You know what?